the American experiment.
All right. Welcome back here. So we're just gonna get into it ASAP. So right off the bat, something I want to get into is back in May 2021, Biden had a little meeting on the new infrastructure bill that was going to be passed and what to look forward to it. And then he drove in a Ford and he really wasn't driving it. So, yeah. So, it's interesting because this was May 25th, right? And then we come out with Biden's green energy dilemma on the critical minerals, which is kind of big because there's a green energy pretty much paradox with the whole Biden administration and mining and so forth. So Biden is pushing, right, to make up half the EVs, to make up half the U.S. auto sales population. Now that's a lot. That's a lot to do by 2030. Now this could happen, but what a lot of people don't notice, and like this isn't a far outreach because I'm not. This isn't politics that I'm talking about. This is just how the markets react to things. So you got Biden. Let me see if I could lower this. Okay. So you got Biden pushing the EVs, right? And then you have him coming out saying the Afghan war was lost, blah, 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 blah. But what people don't realize is that Afghanistan is one of the biggest suppliers of lithium minerals, right? And so what lithium means to the markets is, one, it's a mineral. Two, Biden's administration wanted to increase U.S. production on this. One, this was a paradox because mining is really bad for the environment. It's not something that you could typically just do ASAP. It's more of a long-term investment just because of the work that needs to get put into mining those minerals, right? So now what happened was Biden strictly imposed that we work to get minerals offshore, which is obviously exporting them. So that's kind of kicking the EV US makers and US mining companies in the nuts. And that's tough because with the Afghan thing, right? Now China is one of the biggest EV, or is the biggest EV manufacturer country in the world. So lithium is used for the EV batteries, which is huge because that's how the EVs are powered, right? And that's how the Teslas work, the Neos work, all these EVs, even the Hyundais, the Fords, they're powered by lithium batteries. So by him pulling out of Afghan, and if China does get those minerals, which it could happen, which it probably is happening. Now, the best thing was, is why I'm bringing this up, is because the markets, right? The markets sold off, but then after Biden, Xi Jinping, whatever, speak, the markets kind of turned around slightly. So what's interesting is this was the first time that they talked in months, right? So why? Is it because of the lithium? Is it because this means that we're going to have to buy, obviously, foreign goods and bring them over to us so that we could use it? But in this economy, right, as things get worse, this is really helping out China's economy more than it is helping ours. So this is just something to keep in mind because it's really it's not a good look, because you got Tesla trying to become one of the biggest global manufacturers of EVs, as well as some others too. And so why should we have to go across seas to get this um, battery, right? Mineral, when we were actually doing it ourselves. So that's just something that I wanted to bring up real quick, because to me that was something that I found extremely interesting, because I pay attention to that stuff, and you kind of always got to follow the money. So I'm definitely into that. And so let's get into the markets here, right? Okay. So we got the S&P right now. S&P every single time following this trend line pretty hard, showing that upward support. But then what happened was the momentum kind of died out. Let me fix this a tiny bit. All right, we'll go right there. So what happened was the momentum kind of died out right after this second pop. And yeah, we've been trending upwards, but as we're creating higher lows and obviously higher highs at this type of pace and obviously momentum, right? So you have the RSI and MACD pointing downwards on the daily. So the momentum's changing, and as you can see, we have hit that support line that I have out here. So what we're really looking for is, are we breaking that 4457 number? It doesn't seem possible yet, but like I stated in my post, a September to remember, is this a buy the dip, sell the rip, or is this buy the dip and hold? This is something that we have to be cautious about, because when a stock or index ETF is moving upwards like this, and it's creating more higher lows, right, than higher highs, this is signaling short volume and momentum. And you could see it went from a pretty big movement upwards, but then obviously it started trending, coming back down a little bit as it's moving upwards, signaling that momentum is dying down. And this is something that you just gotta watch. But every single time, right? Every single time it has touched this, there has been either 1 second day of it starting there, but obviously it is a green day, and today futures are up right now. So looking at that as a possible indicator of where we are going this week. And so if we want to zoom out real quick to the weekly, so we could really get that view of where we're going. So you see this. Now this is a pretty good price channel right here. But then what happens is we dip down, and we never came back to retouching or retesting that upwards resistance, right? We kind of just hung out low and just gradually continued upwards. But then once we topped out at that 45 number, we saw a big red candle for last week. So on the weekly chart, we're looking at probably, if we do see a significant drop off, I mean, really the first level for me is about 43.69, and then looking at 42, like 42.70, yeah, around 42.70 would be the next one. Now, moving averages haven't crossed over yet, confirming that the momentum is going downward. So what could happen is maybe we consolidate. Who knows? I'm pretty sure that the FOMC meeting minutes come out this week, I believe, or is it next week? Think it's September 26th. Could be wrong, but that is something that I am on the lookout for. Oh, 21st? Yeah, 21st. It seems like 22nd, 21st, 22nd. So that is something that I am keeping my eyes out on as we head into this week. We have the SPY now. So the SPY is rocking this upwards trend support, right? And then we see, now this is the weekly chart, and then we see that momentum kind of shift to the downwards direction, but I don't necessarily think it's something to worry about at this point in time. But if we do head downward still, the SPY definitely see coming back down to 440 area, 441 area, or maybe all the way down to the 436 area before either bouncing up or retreating lower. So those are definitely price levels that I'm watching. I don't think we will hold like 443 area, but futures are up to 447, so maybe we do push 450 today, and if we do, that'll be a good sign in the near term. So definitely keep an eye out for that, as we'll definitely stay on top of that. So NASDAQ here. Alright, so let's zoom out to the weekly. Alright, so we got the weekly chart here, right? So weekly chart rocking this upwards support. Now it's really testing the high waters right here. And it did triple top up here, and then it retreated lower, retesting this upward support level. So you see it also touched it almost twice, just like almost an inverse cup and handle, but then instead of retreating lower, we actually retreated higher. So it was a false cup and handle, inverse cup and handle. Instead of coming back down this way and retreating lower, it retreated higher, and that's been the case since. So you could see from here we have this little wedge forming up here as momentum slows down a little bit, right? So this is something that I want to pay attention to, is just because we broke that upwards resistance line, right? And that's why I created it. And then we somewhat held it. I mean, we closed out what, 15.44. So like we're up. Futures are up right now, so depending on this week will really signal if it's a false breakthrough or not. To me personally, I think the NASDAQ might be pushing higher. That's until, I believe, rates rise. So until that really happens, I don't think a massive sell-off in the NASDAQ will occur at this point in time. But if it does happen, we're definitely going straight down to 15,131 in a blink of an eye, and then right after that, you could see 144. So I mean, it could be a drastic move from the NASDAQ. So as we get into it, we'll look at the Qs. Alright, so triple Qs, you can see with double topping on the weekly time frame, right? So this is something to be mindful on. Even though we hit an all-time high last week, if we do retouch this upwards trendline resistance area and then we have a pullback, we're looking at probably 369 area for like a real healthy pullback before the dip is bought. That is my opinion, but this is the weekly chart. So if we want to zoom into the daily chart, you could see that we've been rocking that upwards resistance for a few days right? Pretty much 2 weeks in a row, right? August 30th, almost 31st, September. So pretty much the first week of September, we've been rocking that upwards resistance area that we haven't broke yet. I mean, we did break through on the 7th of September, but then we had a pullback to 375-ish, 376, testing that 20-day moving average. So, like I said, futures are up 378. We could push 380s, just like how the SPY, we could push 450. So that is definitely something that I'm being mindful about, as if we do keep on declining, we're definitely looking at 365 range as that support area after it breaks through that 374 area. So something to be mindful about. That could happen drastically. So definitely will be watching that very sharply. So now what I want to do is get into a few stocks. One stock that is moving right now, oh my goodness, is ATER. So I am going to move this real quick. And not that I didn't want you to see what I had up there, but since it already popped up, I will go over that in a second so you could see that I am not phony and I'm not trying to be phony. That's something I want to be as transparent as I can. So we have ATR rocking right now. So it hit a high of $15, right, and had a pullback, retesting that 5-day moving average, and then you can see it's moving upwards now. Volume pre-market kind of big, as now we're probably having some definitely I could see some more people stepping in as they saw the movement last week. And then I also did mention if it broke the 670 level, $7 level, that it was going to push lower. So I actually got out of my position on that, but still eyeing them. So that's something to keep an eye out for, as ATER has been just pushing upwards right on this 4-hour mark, and you could see that it's overextended on the RSI, and the MACD is signaling that it still has got some more to go, as we're not even at market open yet, and it's about to open around $3 higher. So ATER is going to have a massive day today, as you could see the 1 hour, we've just been stair stepping at every market open, exploding upwards. So right now it's looking like we definitely could, let's see. Let's go to the weekly chart on ATER. Let's see. All right, so back in, was this February, it hit $48.99. Right now we're about to open at this, what, 14? Yeah, right around 14.5. So this is a massive, massive, massive gap up right now. Now it's not that big, I'm exaggerating right there, but if we definitely touch that $16 level and break over that, now that's going to be a very, very bullish outbreak as we pass the 50-day moving average. So that is something I am looking for and obviously paying close attention to, because yes, everything is overextended, but when you zoom out, it's not overextended. So that's where you have to be mindful about what you want to do. Like if you're looking to day trade this, you might get caught holding the bag if you put all your eggs in one basket. So just be cautious, because right now, I mean, looking at it, I could see a pullback to Friday's high, which was what, $13.25. So on any pullback, that is what I'm looking at for the first level of support, and if it breaks that, I'm looking down all the way to about $12 or that 1180 range. So just be cautious about getting into these high volatile stocks. As you can see now, ATER is pulling back, as this is a 3-minute chart, 15-hour, 4-hour, and weekly time frame. So another one that I would like to get into that I'm not sure if it's okay. So it had a little dip, and as you saw previously, I am down mostly because of my I am down on the equity play, but I do have an option too that I got caught because the implied volatility. But I really do think BBIG is going to have a massive day. When you zoom out, you can see we broke this pretty much ascending wedge, and to me now we've held, which was support, right, or has seemed like strong support. So that is something that I'm paying very close attention to, because if we break that, I'm definitely getting out of my plays, and I might re-enter, but that'll all come with certain times and signals. So that is something that I am being mindful about. As you could see, RSI is at that low point of 38, and the volume oscillator is starting to push somewhat a little higher off that bearish signal. So hopefully come market open, we definitely see some high volatility. Now, like I said, if it tests this support at $10, I will probably be out if it breaks through. That's just me, just because that's my threshold, and don't want to get caught losing everything that you put in to the play. I trade for cash flow, not looking to invest, so you're just trying to get in and get out. And that is what I do. And yeah, I mean, I think today, right now, let's see, one that I have on my list is Affirm. This is a new stock that I will be watching this week, just to get in and get out on. Long term, might get into it, but not really sure. So they released earnings last week, and then ever since earnings, they have made a massive move upwards. So earnings, what was it, the 9th, comes out, and then boom, from $90 to what, $115, and then it's been climbing up ever since. It's at 122 right now, so a slight pullback from Friday's, or the all-time high of 126. So just want to, wow, see, like, look at that massive move. This is why things come with time. So you see that massive move upwards after it touches that 50-day off the 4-hour. These are things that you need to pay attention to, because one, if you're invested in this, right, now let's just say you're invested here and then you saw that, you might have got in back here, right, or maybe at 80, 90, and if you don't know how to read this type of stuff, you'll never be able to be successful, because you got two of them crossing over the 20-day moving average, signaling a bearish movement, right? But then once it touches that 50-day moving average, it's consolidating in after hours, but then makes a big move upwards after earnings, and they had a beat on earnings. So this is something I'm looking into definitely for the long term, as well as I do think their business proposition is a good one, but there is definitely easy competition depending on how you go about it, because it could be interest free. It's tied to interest rates, so that's just something that I'm mindful about when looking into a company like this. And another candidate is FAMI. So this touched a high, right, on the 15-minute chart, and then it has been making a move lower. Now this is where I probably would have bought by a put, because this to me, for a trade, right, it hit a high of 0.59, but now it's trading at 0.3. This is definitely going to aim lower. As you could look at the 4-hour time frame, MACD, right, that's extremely bearish, and then you can see the momentum is definitely heading that way. So so who knows. It did hit the new low in today's pre-market, so that is something that I would pay attention to. And the only reason why I bring this up is just because if we were to zoom out a little bit, right, now look at this. So it was at what, it touched a high of $2.47 and trades on the NASDAQ. So the volume has been high, and what I am looking for is a break up to the 50-day moving average, but I might buy a little once the 9-day moving average crosses the 20-day. Hopefully it does happen. That is something that I'm looking for, as this is signaling, the MACD is signaling a trend reversal. So that is something I will definitely be on the lookout for, as this is a low entry cost, right, and a high reward. So definitely want to capitalize on these types of plays, because really I got to look into, maybe this was earnings, I don't know necessarily. This came up on my screener, so this is something that I want to look at, because I want to see why this week it had a massive sell-off. So if we just flip to the daily, we could see we had a massive move upwards on what, Friday? Yeah. So we actually broke that resistance level of right here, a 0.49, which is good, and we closed at 0.57, but now we're obviously below that, looking to regain that. So we're really looking to close above that 0.44 area, possibly 0.55. That would be a very good sign of the bullish momentum staying. So that is what I am looking at. And now, as time is winding down, I don't believe we have any economic data today. No, we just have the OPEC monthly report. Tomorrow we have CPI numbers. And yeah, so really want to pay attention to, we'll go back to the NASDAQ. Oh yeah, see, look at the 15-minute crossing downwards. Now this was on Friday, so nothing to be too worried about. Alright, so thank you for tuning in. Hope you like what I put together, and be mindful of what happens in the world and the economy, and obviously politics, because in the nitty-gritty the devil is in the details, and that is how you find out certain things and why things are moving in the markets. Just like Hurricane Ida was approaching, so oil and gas, they shot up, and then once that happened, they dropped, because they knew exactly what was going to happen. And now the price of oil and gas will probably rise because of the demand, while the supply is down, depending on how bad Hurricane Ida has destroyed that sector. So that time will tell with that. Hopefully it's not terrible and everything goes back to normal soon enough. So that's all I got today. Be mindful of what you're getting into in the investment world, and don't forget